Sure, the ad guy from Iron Man.
System shut down, not again, are you kidding? No, don't.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hit cancel.
I'd like to call the Novi Board of Education regular meeting to order. Today is January 6th. We can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I can get a motion for the approval of the agenda,
Move to approve the agenda as presented?
Support.
recommended by Mrs. Murphy and supported by Mr. Smith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll now move on to the National School Board Month Resolution. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. Whereas Michigan is home to more than 600 boards of education that work to enrich the lives of Michigan students through education and directly influence instruction in Michigan's public schools. And whereas Article 8, Section 2 of the Michigan Constitution of 1963 states that providing for the education of Michigan's children is a fundamental duty of state government. And whereas local school board members represent their community to ensure that educational opportunities are provided to the children and young adults in their community that will advance student achievement in schools and communities in which they serve. And whereas during this month, we joined the Michigan Association of School Boards, Michigan Department of Education, local school districts, and community organizations to recognize and raise awareness of the countless efforts and contributions of local school boards and school board members throughout Michigan. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Novi Community School District, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2022 as Local School Board Month and honor the contribution of Novi Community School District school board members. Danielle Ruskin, Paul Cook, Willie Mena, Kathy Hood, Tom Smith, Bobby Murphy, and Mary Ann Roney. And we'd like to express our appreciation to each of you for your willingness to serve our community in this way.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. It's an honor to serve. Does anybody have any comments or? Okay. Mrs. Murphy?
Oh, no, I was looking in our little gift bag. Should we open it?
If you want to.
I didn't
You open
celebrate.
it for everybody.
I didn't
You can open it for everybody.
I
We're
didn't
gonna make a
celebrate
big mess on
Christmas
the
yet
table.
because my daughter couldn't come home, so I
Okay,
haven't
there you
opened
go.
very many parts. Oh, very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely. And we got these nice mugs too, which we should definitely start using at the
Yep,
board
that
table.
was actually from me, and those
Oh,
were,
thank you.
I made a donation on behalf of everyone to the senior all-night party fundraiser.
Oh,
So it was a 2-for-1.
That was nice of you.
win-win.
Yep,
Thank you. Thank you.
you're very welcome. Okay, we will move on to.
I gave him a piece of candy.
Thank you, Tom.
Gosh.
Okay.
We'll move on to the election of officers. Do you want me to read this?
I can read it.
Okay.
The Board of Education elects officers annually, not earlier than January 1st, immediately following an election held on a November regular election date, and not later than the first meeting in January. At a board work session held on Thursday, December 16th, 2021, all board members discussed the board committees and officer positions. And so tonight, the recommendation for the Novi Board of Education officers for 2022 are the following. President, Dr. Danielle Ruskin. Vice President, Paul Cook. Secretary, Willie Mena. And Treasurer, Kathy Hood.
Thank you. If we can then get a motion. Mrs. Murphy?
I recommend that the Novi Community School District approve the recommended officers for the 2022-23 school year. Or, yeah.
2022.
Whatever. The next
Calendar
year. The next 22, yeah, calendar.
The next 12 months.
Okay, sorry. Can I start over?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to recommend that the Novi Community School Board of Education approve the recommended officers
As
for the
presented.
2022 school year as presented.
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Murphy and supported by Mr. Mena. Any comments or discussion? I know we had a lengthy discussion at our last meeting. No? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. don't really have anything to say since I've been doing this for 2 years, but I appreciate being leader of this group, but the group is really made up of 7 really wonderful, committed, passionate people, and I look forward to continuing to serve by your side. So, thank you.
You're very humble, Dr. Ruskin. I'd just like to let everybody know it was a unanimous decision, and it really didn't take much discussion.
Is that why you were laughing when I said a lengthy
Yeah,
discussion?
you've done a fantastic job. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We will move on to the next item of business, which is the board committee appointments. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Upson. The board president may identify board members, or board members may express an interest for committee appointments or representation as board liaisons. At a board work session held on Thursday, December 16th, 2021, all board members discussed the board committees and officer positions. Board committee opportunities include Novi Educational Foundation liaison, Community Education liaison, Oakland County School Board Association Government Relations Committee liaison, and the standing committees, capital projects, curriculum, finance, governments and policy, diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. And the recommendation is that the Novi Board of Education make the following liaison and committee assignments for 2022. Liaisons for the Novi Educational Foundation, Kathy Hood. Community Education, Tom Smith. Oakland County School Board Association, Mary Ann Roney. Capital Projects, Willie Minna, Chair, Paul Cook and Tom Smith. Curriculum, Bobby Murphy, Chair, Mary Ann Roney and Willie Minna. Finance, Kathy Hood, Chair, Mary Ann Roney and Danielle Ruskin. Governance and Policy, Tom Smith, Chair, Paul Cook and Willie Minna. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Bobby Murphy, Kathy Hood, and Danielle Ruskin, with the chair to be determined later. And so those are presented this evening by the board for your approval.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. If I can get
I actually don't think we need approval because it says in our policy that you appoint them.
okay.
So I think that you're safe not to.
Agree.
Okay, sounds great. And as you all know, this is a fun task, but also, can weigh heavily a little bit on a president. But I think that every single person at this table has the ability to serve on any one of these committees and do a really great job. I mixed things up a little bit. I also kept some things a little bit stable for the needs of the district. So hopefully we'll all have a great year serving the positions that we've been appointed to. And that's really about it. Thank you. We'll move on to the board meeting schedule report. We have a lot of organizational things tonight, as you can all see. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. As you mentioned, this is the organizational meeting. So previously, the meeting, the board had approved the 2021-22 board meeting. So this is really a tentative schedule for the 2022-23 Board of Education meeting. And is presented tonight for review and discussion, with those meetings being held at the Educational Services Building here on Taft Road. And so you will see the 2022 starting in July through June of 2023, the board meetings that are presented. We tried to keep to our schedule of first and third meetings, except where there might be some reason to vary from that schedule. August, you can see, varies from that schedule because we needed a late August meeting for any last minute hires that Dr. Kinzer might bring to the board. We also looked at the football schedule, the homecoming games. We looked at some holidays to make sure that we weren't going to have difficulty there. We looked in January, the January 12th meeting as opposed to January 5th, because the calendar for next year is still undecided, and the Oakland Schools calendar actually has the first week of January off next year because the holiday that we celebrate in December, Christmas is late next year, and so we'll go up to the 23rd, I think, in December and have those 2 weeks off, but that calendar has not yet been settled with the teacher group, so that's why that January date is as it is. And you'll see 3 dates also in June because of the career prep graduation. So we present that tonight for approval, recognizing that this is a tentative schedule and can be changed by board action at a later date.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. If I may get a motion.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve the 2021 Board of Education meeting calendar as presented, and that should be
Yeah,
2022.
Yes, it should.
Thank you. And do we have a support?
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Roney and supported by Mrs. Murphy. Any comments or discussion pieces? Yes, Mr. Cook?
Just knowing that it changed this year, we moved graduation to a Thursday night. I was wondering that June 1st might interfere
Okay,
with that
yeah.
potentially, but we
That's-
can change that.
we
That's
can.
not the end of this.
The graduation for 2023 has not been set yet, so we may have to revisit that. Good point.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. That's a good point. I reviewed this with Dr. Matthews and with Mrs. Holly. One thing to note, on a previous board calendar, it was July 7th, and so there's an asterisk here, it's changed. So if you have it in your personal calendar, it's July 7th. Just make sure you change it to the 14th. We thought it would be better for both the administrative team and this team to keep the 4th of July week open for family time and any travels that will be happening. So, any other comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to our first opportunity for comments from the audience. This is related to anything on tonight's agenda. And usually I read a little blurb. It's not on here. I only see a few audience members, so I don't think that'll be necessary tonight. And we'll get that back on there so that I can make sure that the public and anyone's here kind of has the guidelines. So if anyone has any comments specific to any agenda items, please step up to the podium, fill out the green card, state your name, and make sure that Mrs. Holly has your green card before you leave. Seeing none, we'll move on to consent agenda A, which is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting minutes of December 16th, approval of field trips, which on here tonight is the Michigan Music Conference. If I can get a recommendation. Mr. Mena?
Move to approve consent item A as, or actually consent agenda A. As, didn't we have two of them here?
We do,
Oh, we're
yeah.
doing, okay. So I move to approve consent agenda A as presented.
Thank you. Do we have support?
I'll support.
Recommended by Mr. Mena, supported by Mr. Smith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to consent agenda B, which includes at the organizational meeting, the designated depositors for school funds, designate those persons authorized to sign checks, contracts, agreements, and purchase orders, designate those persons authorized to use the safety deposit box.
Which we don't have, by the way.
Okay. We do not have one. Determine fee charged to individuals who request notice of board meetings. The Novi Community School District Board of Education currently does not charge a fee. Designate an administrator to assume the specified responsibilities of the treasurer and/or the secretary. F is designate the electronic transfer officer. G, designate a law firm to represent the school board. H, designate a day, place, and time for regular meetings which shall be held at least once every month. If I may get a motion for the recommendation? Mrs. Murphy?
I move that the Novi Community School Board of Education accept consent items, consent agenda B, items A through H as presented.
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Murphy and supported by Mr. Cook. All in favor?
Can I interrupt? I know this is a consent item, but I just need to ask one question here.
Please.
With regards to G, we've never really had a discussion in the past about one board, one law firm representing one. We have one that represents the district and another that represents us for the purposes of policies. So I'm not looking to slow this vote down now, but at some point, maybe we can talk about this issue and get a little bit of clarity on how we use these.
We can add that to the work session next
Right.
week because we have a list of things to talk about, so we'll make sure that gets added, Mr. Meno, okay?
Okay.
Alrighty. All in favor of consent agenda B, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, motion carries 7-0. Next, we'll move on to action items. We have 2 action items this evening. First, we have our personnel report, Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. I'll turn to Dr. Kinzer.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. This evening we have 2 new hires. Amy Brown, second grade teacher at Orchard Hills, and Julie Dinsmore, payroll manager here at the ESB. We have 3 resignations. Alice Anglin, food science teacher at the high school. Kelsey Gaylord, English language development teacher leader for the district. And Tammy McGill, special education paraprofessional at Village Oaks. We also have 2 leaves of absence. Timothy Stotler, this is a year 2 health leave of absence. He is a special education parapro at the high school. And Ashley Weiner, a psychologist. This is a year 1 child care leave of absence.
Thank you, Dr. Kinzer.
We only have 1 name under the hires.
Will you repeat Amy's role?
Amy Brown.
Yes, so Amy Brown, second grade teacher at Orchard Hills. I apologize if you didn't receive this information. So Mrs. Ringel, principal at Orchard Hills, worked very diligently with her team over the vacation to interview. And this is a replacement for a retirement that we had just before the break. And we're very fortunate to have a very experienced candidate be part of our group. So so I will make sure that you get the addition to the hiring summary. So you'll have all of her information.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kinzer. Mr. Mena?
So then I'll move that we approve the personnel report as presented with the addition of Miss Amy Brown.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Mena and supported by Mrs. Roney. Do we have any additional comments or questions on the personnel report?
They're certainly keeping you busy.
Yes, it looks like they are keeping you quite busy, along with your other job as a principal. I had reached out to Dr. Kinzer about the food science teacher, even though she was just hired and is now resigned. It just didn't happen, and we don't have a food science teacher at the high school, but I'm assuming that things
Interviews,
are
there were interviews today.
great.
Yeah.
Good. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to our second action items. That is B, bid package number 9, theatrical drapery and rigging replacement. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. On Thursday, November 18th, 2021, at 1 p.m., sealed bids were received and publicly opened. In attendance were representatives from the Novi Community School District, McCarthy Smith, TLS Sales, and interested bidders. It was determined that 7 of the district's buildings warranted replacement of theatrical drapery and rigging due to deterioration of the fabric's fire retardant properties over the years. The project team conducted post-bid interviews, and based on the team's review of the proposals and bidders, they are recommending the following to the Novi Community School District for contract award. Bid division of 134 theater and stage rigging would go to North Coast Studios for $146,900. And so we would ask the board to approve that as presented for a total project cost of $146,900. I see Ms. Arbuckle is here this evening if you have any questions, and Mr. McIntyre also can answer questions if you, I know you discussed this in December, and so this comes back for approval this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. If I can get a motion for the recommendation. Mrs. Murphy?
I will move that the Novi Board of Education award the contract as presented above for a total project cost of $146,900.
Do we have support?
You gotta get on the board.
Oh, I'll support that.
Recommended by Mrs. Murphy and supported by Mrs. Hood.
Like a potted plant over here.
Do we have any specific comments or questions since our last meeting? Yes, please.
Can I had somebody reach out to me just last night about stuff going on in the middle school auditorium. I didn't have an answer. I'm not sure if they reached out to the folks I pointed them to. Is there
I've
some-
not, Justin is our new auditorium manager, and our new assistant manager are conducting a lot of kind of walkthroughs and doing some things in each of those buildings, both at the middle school and the high school. So that may have been it. I'll talk to Justin.
Yeah, no, he's probably listening right now, and he'll reach out to me and probably
Okay.
give me an update.
Thank you, Mr. Mena. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I think we're ready for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to information and discussion on our agenda. We have 2 items this evening. The first one is proposed refunding 2014 school building and site bonds, Series 1. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. This is a positive thing for the district and for our community. The Novi Community School District is presenting a bond authorizing resolution to be adopted by the board. The purpose of this bond authorizing resolution is to aggregate the principal amount not to exceed $30 million as finally determined upon sale thereof for the purpose of refunding all or portion of the issuer's outstanding 2014 school building and site bond Series 1 dated June 19th, 2014. The bond refunding team is comprised of our bond underwriter, Stiefel Nicholas, the financial advisor, PFM Financial, and the bond counsel, Troon Law. The proposed resolution is submitted to the board tonight for information and discussion with approval at the next meeting of the Board of Education. I would ask Mr. McIntyre to give just a summary of what this means for the board and for the community.
Yeah, sure. The call date on the 2014 bond is May 24th, so by refinancing earlier, we can save approximately $2.7 million. I say approximately because by the time we go to sale, the rates can move a little bit, but the 2.7 comes off the top, so that's a good savings for us as well. With the Series 2, $55 million, this is Series 2 of 3. It's a long process. We could perhaps have the money available to us around about mid-June to July. We do have the drawdown from Series 1 has been lagging behind, so we're not in any dire need of having funds available any sooner than that.
So in the bond refunding, who saves the money there, Mr. McIntyre?
Taxpayers, sir.
Taxpayers save, so $2.7 million to the taxpayers.
Excuse me, I'm just a little lost here. So
There's 2 issues here. He addressed both of them.
Okay, so we're doing refinancing of the
2014.
2014, and then
Selling Series 2.
Selling Series 2.
Then we're doing the selling Series 2 of the current bond.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So the first item for information and discussion tonight is the refunding to the taxpayers, refinancing of the 2014 school building and site bond Series 1. And then the second issue will be selling the Series 2 2019 bond, which for about approximately $55 million.
Yes.
Which will continue as we move forward into new projects over the next 2 or 3 years. And then remember, we have a Series 3 that will come at some point as well.
Thank you. Any specific questions in relation to the 2014 information and discussion piece?
Okay.
Seeing
That
none,
makes a
we'll-
lot of sense.
sounds great.
And we've done it before.
Right.
It's not a new thing that we're doing.
Okay, then we will move on to the second portion, which we addressed a little bit, but we'll read the recommendation.
So the Novi Community School District is presenting a bond authorizing resolution to be adopted by the board. The purpose of this bond authorizing resolution is to aggregate the principal sum of not more than $55 million for the purpose of funding a portion of the bond project. The bond shall be designated 2022 School Building and Site Bonds, Series 2. And again, the bond underwriter is Stiefel Nicholas, the financial advisor is PFM, and the bond counsel is Troon Law. So you have a series of resolutions presented to you that will ask for approval at our next board meeting so that we can move this forward and sell those bonds this spring.
I just have one
Please.
kind of general question. In terms of that 55 million, do we have an idea of kind of general idea of the expenditures that we're going to be using that for?
But we have more than a general idea. We have
Very specific.
Yes, we have a well spelled out plan, and we
Okay.
can bring that to the board.
I was just thinking if you could tack that along
Sure.
with this for our information for the next time, I think that would
Okay,
probably be
sure.
helpful.
Any other questions?
Sure.
Sure,
And
that
why
would
don't
be
you come up to the,
So next series,
why don't you introduce yourself first?
sorry, Agnes Arbuckle with McCarthy and Smith. So speaking of the second series of the bond, the majority of that money will be covering the Meadows addition renovation. That's really the bulk of it. And also some of that funding will be moved forward for the high school work that's going to be continuing on after this summer. So there will be some smaller projects mixed in there, but the majority of it, that's what that is.
So, sorry.
Yes,
So that
go ahead.
55 million, it was determined based on the projects, not the other way around?
Correct. We projected out a cash flow, trying to plan out when and how you were going to be spending the money as years progress. And honestly, it governs how we design and how we construct, because there's only so much money within so many years that we can expend.
Right. Great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's any other questions, certainly you can send them to Dr. Matthews and Mr. McIntyre, and he will get the information that maybe we don't have via Agnes and our team. Okay. This will come back to us at our next meeting for adoption through the action items. We will move on to our second opportunity for comments from the audience. And hold on here, I'm just scrolling down. Okay. I still don't have my blurb, so that's okay. Anybody who has any comments from directed to the board, please step up to the podium, state your name. You can fill out a green card. There is a 5-minute time limitation. Mr. Mena keeps track of time, and we'll give you a 30-second warning when that time is up. Please address the board directly and not individuals or individual staff or administrators in the room. Any comments from the audience? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. I would like to express my appreciation to Dr. Weber, Dr. Kinzer, Greg McIntyre, and the administrative team for stepping in for me over the last month as I was out due to surgery on my shoulder. These three, as well as the administrative team, have earned my confidence as we have worked together over several years. Dr. Weber and I have now been together for 11 years in the district, and we still talk to each other on a daily basis.
We do, we're starting the band, actually.
Their commitment to our students and staff was demonstrated as they stepped into an unexpectedly difficult situation during December. I appreciate their leadership and their character as they provided exemplary leadership for our school district. As you are aware, the COVID situation continues to provide us with unexpected opportunities in the district. We're trying to navigate a tight window of keeping our students in school and safe, even as COVID cases increase. We believe that our students benefit from being in school. However, we recognize that we must attend to the impact of COVID as well. Student absences are higher than typical right now. They range between 10 and 15% of our students, give or take. But that means that 85% of our students have been in school every day this week. So we will continue to monitor and adjust as we move forward, recognizing that the needs of our buildings will dictate how we move forward. At this point, we feel confident that we are able to navigate through the situation that we are currently finding ourselves in. Finally, winter is upon us, so I would just encourage everyone to have patience as more parents are driving students to and from school each day. Waiting in line to drop off and pick up is not fun, but together we can keep our students and each other safe this winter. So thank you, Dr. Rustin.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews, and we're glad to have you back and
Thank
that
you.
you're healing well and your pain has, we'll say it's dissipated. You have a different kind of pain
I have a
now.
different kind.
Alrighty, we will move on to the administrative reports, and we'll start with Mr. McIntyre, if you have anything in addition to share.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. Just one quick thing. I just want to make the board aware of the January Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference. It'll be next Friday, January 14th at 9 o'clock. And for those of you who do not have the link already, we'll have that link sent out to you so you can participate if you choose to.
It's a fun-filled day watching revenue estimate.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Dr. Kinzer?
Thank you. As it is National School Board Month, I'd like to take this opportunity just to thank each of you. In challenging times like these, it is really essential to have outstanding board leadership, and we're fortunate to have it. So thank you for your consistent contributions to the district, and look forward to more of them. Also, I want to let you know that our third Mentee Monday professional development session of the year will be on Monday. It will be a virtual session. Our instructional coaches will be presenting to our new teachers, sharing the services that they offer, as well as a new professional development model that they've developed. They'll be kind of rolling that out for our new teachers as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Benson.
Ominous footsteps.
Yeah, we just have some extra visitors.
They're the,
Dr. Weber.
actually the footsteps of Jody Malbon, whose last day with us is tomorrow, and she won't come in the room because I know her and I'm looking out there. She's filling up her water cup. But Jody Malbon's been with us, I believe, 8 years, and has just done a phenomenal job. Can't get out of here fast enough before I go drag her in here in front of the cameras. Thank you, Jody, for everything. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jody.
She was our payroll supervisor.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Did an outstanding job.
Amazing. You messed that job up and everyone knows, right? You don't get your paycheck. So, being school board month, I'll say that I want to thank our board and boards across the country, frankly, for, and I'm biased about this, but choosing to serve what I think is one of the finest public institutions in our country, which is public schools, period. Having grown up myself in a community where a rural community, and I know Paul, who just lost his dad, growing up in a rural community like that, and I believe your dad was a school board president, it is where everyone gets together in a space, right? It is public schools are that place where communities, especially smaller communities, no matter where you live, what kind of house you're in, what dirt road you live on, or whatever, you're all together there. And there's something really beautiful about that aspect of public education. And one of the great parts of it are people like you who are willing to step in without any type of compensation whatsoever, but wanting to help our community be better. And we all might not agree on everything all the time, which is fine. I think it's actually essential that we have healthy debate on several things. But I think in the past 2 years with COVID, what I've seen, not only in Novi, but across the country, this month is even more poignant for school board members. I know President Ruskin and I watched the school board meeting shortly after the Oxford shooting. And, you know, how many institutions after something like that have people who live in the community go on stage and answer questions from a community that's hurting and stand in that breach and take it, right? I mean, we live in a time where people are still trying to dodge accountability when they're being subpoenaed, for Pete's sake. And we have school board members who don't get paid a dime show up and say, ask me anything you want. So thank you for that. It's not easy. You do great work for our kids and for our future. Kelsey Gaylord was one of our resignations. Kelsey was with us for a number of years. She recently moved and has had a huge impact on our English language development program. Just a reminder, 1/3 of our students are either English language learners or formerly English language learners. And then I'd also like to say, finally, as I dropped my son off at school today, he's a 6th grader at Meadows, it dawned on me as I drove by Principal Bricky and his teachers who are out there, because we have a bus driver shortage, obviously. We know about labor shortages. And these folks are standing out there in 15-degree weather for a half an hour in the morning, making sure the kids get into school on time, right? And I try to roll my window down and play a song for them when I'm driving by and things like that. My son doesn't appreciate it, but I'm not so sure Principal Bricky does either. But, you know, I think that it's important, and I'll say this to all of us, I'm a parent, is just to please realize that how many people are genuinely filling in and doing so many different things to make sure that we can open every day. I was in a meeting yesterday for the high-risk response team of Oakland County. So this is a team that meets to address domestic violence issues. And so you have prosecutors and judges and police chiefs and all of that. And the question was, like, how has COVID impacted, like, what you do in your operation? The courts were saying, well, we're full online now. We do all of our stuff Zoom. And so I was listening to everybody, and I said, you know, imagine in the fact that we can't just leave 30 kids in a room without an adult for 6 hours.
like in our business, there has to be somebody with kids. So for every substitute teacher who answers the call, every bus driver who gets up to get after it, every noon aide who comes in, we have some, every hall monitor. We typically have 5 at the high school. We only have 2 currently. For everyone who gets up in a very difficult situation so our kids can live the life they deserve, I'll say thank you. And thank you to every school board, but personally to each of you. Being at this table and seeing what you do and how much you care and the class and grace you've exhibited in the past 2 years, when, in my opinion, we've had community members who have not exhibited class and grace towards you, and you've been able to manage that with the grace that is a great model for our kids. So thank you. And Dr. Matthews mentioned we've been together for 11 years, so we finally decided. He got a mandolin recently. I recently procured a guitar. We're looking for a drummer. So if there's anybody out there, we're starting a band. And just to let you know, it's fair warning.
We'll have warm-up music before the board meeting.
That would be great, little ensemble. So thank you all, sincerely.
Thank
Good
you,
to see you
Dr.
all.
Weber.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We appreciate you and your
Thank
kind
you.
words. Okay, next we have opportunity for board communication. Mr. Cook?
Yeah, I'm just gonna add a little bit to what Dr. Weber was saying, because those that have stepped up and gone out and helped out, because at middle school drop-off, Principal Baker has been out directing traffic with lightsabers. So, we do get, they do get a pretty good line, because you've got, 1,000 students coming in at one time, and it literally blocks off another mile. But hopefully we can find a resolution to this bus driver issue quickly. The other thing was, I did miss the December 16th meeting because I was at Mrs. Grabinski's last performance, or her choir's last performance, which was awesome. The kids had fun. They sang their hearts out, and from what I've heard from the kids so far this year, they're a little disappointed she's still not there. So, but that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Any other board communication? Mrs. Hood?
Thank you. Yeah, I attended what I think is my last Government Relations Committee meeting last night at the Oakland County School Boards. And just 2 things that I wanted to mention. There is a new school safety committee that's been formed. I don't know if it's just the House or the House and the Senate for Michigan. And Kelly Breen, Novi's House representative from the House, is on that committee. So I would encourage anybody to call her if they have concerns or questions, etc. And then I think everybody on the board got the email from Birgit McQuiston for the Oakland County School Boards Association dinner, which is next Wednesday, the January 19th at 6 o'clock. And the topic, or the speaker, will be talking about the state of superintendency, or what they call the care and feeding of your superintendent. So I don't know if anyone.
Chocolate. Just needs to reach out.
Anyway, so that is in 2 weeks. I just wanted to bring your attention to it, but I think everybody has that email. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hood, and thank you for serving in that role. Mrs. Roney will be stepping into that position, and we appreciate her time. It is a time-consuming commitment that both of you have put yourself into once a month, so we appreciate both of you serving past and present in that position. Any other comments? No? Okay. I hope everyone had a great new year. I know that there has been a lot going on. There's been holidays. People have experienced tragedies in their family. Condolences to Mr. Cook and his family for the loss of his wonderful 96-year-old legacy of a father who did serve as a school board member, and you are in our thoughts. We have other staff who have lost people over the holidays. And we've also had an opportunity to spend time with family and to prep for the wonderful things that are to come in 2022. So with that being said, we have an opportunity to go into closed session. Closed session report. Since it's about you, I'll read it.
Okay.
A public body may meet in closed session only for one or more purposes as specified in the Open Meetings Act. Tonight, the board will move into closed session to discuss the superintendent evaluation. If I can get a motion to move into closed session, Mrs. Murphy?
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education move into closed session for the purpose of the superintendent evaluation.
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Murphy and supported by Mr. Cook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We will take a 5 to 6 minute recess so that we can clear the room, and then we will move into closed session. Thank you.
Heat turned up in here.
It is chilly.
Can we get the heat